Mistress of All Evil, A Tale of the Dark Fairy by Serena Valentino. Copyright Disney Press, 2017. The fairy godmother quickly got to business. With her wand, she conjured up a little round table with a dark pink tablecloth that matched the cherry blossoms behind them. She also conjured 2 white chairs with pink cushions to match. "Sit, sister, sit." And with another wave of her wand, a teapot, teacups with saucers, and little plates, all a pale shade of pink, edged with glistening silver, appeared on the table. "Have some tea, sister, before it gets cold." "Oh, and I almost forgot." With another wave of her wand, little white cakes decorated with pink roses settled on the plates. "There, now we're ready." Nanny laughed to herself, but she let her sister talk. "We'll discuss each student in order of completion of the exam. Does that sound fair?" Nanny nodded, letting her sister speak first. "I'm sure you'll agree that Maleficent did deplorably. She failed to realize her charge was actually Princess Snow White, not the wicked queen." Nanny scoffed. "So what do you suppose Maleficent should have done? Let the queen languish in torment and try to kill her own daughter? There was no fairy, no good sorceress to help Snow White. There was no other part for Maleficent to play in this scenario than to destroy the man in the mirror. She saved the queen and the princess. You can't deny it." The fairy godmother was shaking her head furiously the entire time her sister was speaking. Nanny felt anger rising inside her. "You know as well as I that the 3 fairies chosen should be Maleficent, the Blue Fairy, and your favorites, Flora, Fauna, and Merryweather. Do we really need to sit here and debate this all day?" Just then the odd sisters flew into the courtyard, screaming at the top of their lungs like wild harpies. Ruby was holding the hand of a small blonde girl. The tiny girl seemed to be made of all things silver and gold, shining like a star. She was crying so hard she was shaking. "Where are those beasts? Those little beasts? Where is Merryweather? Where are her friends?" Ruby shrieked. Maleficent ran into the courtyard just behind them. "Where are my birds? Where's my crow tree?" The little blonde girl continued to sob. "Maleficent, you're frightening the young girl. Stop this screaming at once," scolded the fairy godmother. Lucinda glared at her. "It was your fairies who made our Circe cry, not Maleficent. Merryweather attacked her." Nanny rushed over to Circe and the odd sisters. "Circe, what happened? Merryweather attacked you?" "All 3 of them attacked me, but I think it was my fault," she sobbed. "What happened?" Nanny asked in her gentlest voice, hoping to calm not only Circe but also the odd sisters and Maleficent, who were equally outraged. "When the 3 fairies appeared on their path, I saw into their hearts. I saw they had a terrible secret. They'd taken Maleficent's raven, Diablo, and hidden him away so she would worry and fret over him. They wanted Maleficent to be distracted at her exams today. I didn't think it was fair, so I took the form of Maleficent to see if they would help me find the raven, but no matter how much I begged for their help, they refused to even look at me." Circe was crying so hard now she couldn't keep telling the story. "How did Merryweather know Maleficent was taking the exam today?" asked Nanny, giving her sister an angry look. "Did you tell them?" The fairy godmother couldn't bring herself to meet her sister's gaze. "I might have said something to Merryweather after the argument you and I had in your kitchen." Nanny was incensed, but the fairy godmother kept talking. "But I didn't have anything to do with this." "Stop your insipid squabbling and let our sister finish her story," screeched Martha. "Tell them what happened next, dear," Ruby said encouragingly, holding Circe's hand in hers. I decided to appear farther along the path. It was in the middle of a beautiful forest, standing beneath the largest of trees there. I was still disguised as Maleficent, weeping because I couldn't find Diablo and Opal. The fairies didn't realize I wasn't the real Maleficent. They started screaming at me, accusing me of trying to ruin their exam. They hurled silver sparks at me, which made the crow tree catch fire." Circe sobbed even more. I didn't know the birds were in the tree. I didn't know the fairies had hidden them there from Maleficent. I thought it was all make-pretend." "And where are Maleficent's birds now?" Nanny asked, her heart full of fear. Circe collapsed in a heap of tears. "I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to put Maleficent's pets in danger. I didn't realize the fairies would try to hurt us." The odd sisters took their little sister in their arms and held her tightly as she cried. "It's not your fault, dear," My dear, you didn't know. Maleficent won't blame you. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. Where are Maleficent's birds? Nanny asked again, frantically searching everyone's faces for answers they didn't have. Maleficent, where are your birds? Maleficent was crying. I don't know. My crow tree isn't in our yard. Nanny was trying to stay calm. Circe, darling, are you sure it was the real Opal and Diablo with you in the scene? Circe nodded. I am. Nanny waved her hand, summoning Merryweather, Fauna, and Flora. The fairies were surprised to find themselves standing in front of a legion of angry witches. Where are Diablo and Opal? Where are Maleficent's birds? Nanny asked sternly. The three fairies looked frightened and began speaking all at once. We didn't mean for them to be harmed, I swear. We didn't realize that our charge would turn herself into Maleficent and threaten us. We thought she was Maleficent. We thought she was angry because we had stolen her precious birds. Maleficent stopped crying, her face turning a startling shade of green. She just stared at the fairies. She was deathly quiet and seething with anger. The fairies almost wished she would scream at them. Her silence was unsettling. Maleficent, I'm sorry. We would have never hurt your birds on purpose, Flora whimpered. Maleficent quietly stretched out her arms, the sleeves of her robes resembling a raven's wings. Where are my birds? The three fairies gasped with fright. We don't know. We promise. We swear. Maleficent's face became stone cold, and her yellow eyes blazed. Lies! Where are my birds? Tell me now! No, not until you stand down and renounce your right for wish-granting, Merryweather shouted. We can't have you sullying the good name of the fairies in this land by spreading your filth to the many kingdoms. That is enough, Nanny yelled. Tell us where you have put Maleficent's birds, or I will punish you myself. You will not touch them, sister, said Fairy Godmother, stepping in front of the three fairies. When will you give up this wretched girl? When will you see that Maleficent will bring you nothing but pain and misery? You saw it the night you brought her home. When you looked through her time in this world, you saw it through to the end, but still you insisted on taking her in. You cared for her and defended her, even though she doesn't deserve it. What is she talking about? Maleficent's anger was turning into heartbreak. Nothing, my dear, nothing, Nanny said. Maleficent began to cry again. What is she talking about? What did you see? Am I evil? Is that why I was abandoned? Yes, you were created in evil, and you will do evil to the end of your days. You will destroy everything you have ever loved, yelled the Fairy Godmother. No, Maleficent, don't listen to her. It's not true, Nanny insisted. Maleficent's fingertips started to tingle. The terrible feeling quickly spread to the rest of her body, turning into a burning sensation that came from within. She remembered feeling that way when she was younger, before she had learned to teleport to her treehouse, before she had learned how to control her anger. But this time it felt different. This time, she felt different. Maleficent? No! Nanny screamed. Everything in Maleficent's world went black, and she became unbearably hot. It felt as if the raging heat burning uncontrollably inside her would consume her. But just when she was sure the heat would make her burst, she felt herself expanding, becoming larger and more imposing, as if her body was making room for her anger. The heat that had been growing within her was creating space for the pain, the heartache, and the betrayal she felt at hearing that Nanny had seen she would become evil. How could she have lied to her all this time? How could she have kept that from her? This awful thing inside her now raged like a beast. It was like a hungry serpent eating away at her insides, devouring her. She screamed in pain, her cries mingling with her mother's screams until she could no longer tell the difference between the two. She couldn't bear it. It was the most terrible thing she'd ever experienced. She lost all sense of herself as a blinding green fire exploded from within her, destroying everything in her path. And all she could think was that they had all been right. She was evil. Thank you so much for listening. Remember, like and subscribe, and don't forget to ring that notification bell to keep up to date on all the new magic. Have a magical day.